Okay, so today we will complete the lectures and I will do the 11th chapter and then 12th chapter I will only talk couple of minutes. So any questions so far?
I had one question. So, in the reincarnations, if a person gets reincarnated into an animal, that solves past karma, right?
All the births pass solving the past karma, but in the animal it only solves past karma and doesn't create new.
Okay.
Whereas in the human being, because human being has an intelligence, and due to the human being having a profound mind, it creates new karma.
Okay, so will like a perfected yogi only choose to create like extra cheetahs on animals?
He will create
Because-
extra cheetahs, and some of them will be animals.
But not all.
No, it depends on the what is required.
Okay, so one of his extra cheetahs may create karma.
No,
No?
only the cheetah which is the original can create
Okay.
karma.
Okay.
That's why it says na tatra dhyanajam anashayam. Anashayam means it cannot create. It only the dhyanajam, the one only meditating chitta um, can create karma, but it does not create because he has mastered that not creating karma by that time.
Yes.
Tatra dhyanajam anashayam, and also the original chitta is the master.
You talked about gunas receding back into their cause. What does that mean?
It means that this is one thing and this gave rise to one or more things. So this is made up of sattva, rajas, tamas, and this is also made up of sattva, rajas, tamas. These are qualitative. So there is no quantity. So due to this, when these recede into their cause, this goes away and this stays. Like this also goes away and then another stays. At the end, only Mahat stays. And when Mahat is reflecting the Purush, then self-realization takes place. And then when the when that old karma is finished, here all the old karma is finished, this Mahat goes into the Prakriti. So it's qualitative, that's the problem. So it looks like SRT.
Is the concept of energy not being able to be created or destroyed prevalent? You know, like the physics theory?
No, physics is material. So physics, anything in the physics is made up of sattva resistance. Yes, you can say that way. To some extent. Yes, that's a good idea. That the conservation of energy takes place. That's very interesting. Conservation of energy takes place due to conservation of sattva tamas. Good idea. Okay. Any other question? Okay, very good. So now what's happening is that Patanjali has described the eightfold path and at the end of that you reach Kaivalya. That is spiritual liberation. So what he is saying is that obviously this path is for the person who wants to go through this whole hassle. Now there are some comments I wrote in the beginning of my chapter that Patanjali's Ishwar Pranidhan is not that great. But what he is saying now is that this path is for a person who is having very strong constitution of his will is strong, and all that. So that is called Tivra Samveg. Tivra Samveg. So Tivra Samveg means strong will and practice. So he's saying that person who cannot do this much strong, there is an alternative. And that alternative is surrender to Ishwar. Okay. So according to me, the Ishwara concept and the entire surrender to Ishwar is not properly done in Patanjali Sutras. So what he is doing is given there in the beginning of my comments, and why I am saying that not complete, it is written there, my critical comments. So you can read that portion as a homework. And now we will go to the my reformulated Ishwar Pranidhan. So Atha Ishwar Pranidhanam Prakaranam. Now first it says Ashtanga Yogato Nirbija Prapti Tivra Samvegan Sannaiva. There was one sutra in the Patanjali, it says Tivra Samvega Anasanna Tivra Samvegana Asannaha. That I changed to Ashtanga Yogato Nirbija Prapti Tivra Samvega Asanna. Means the Ashtanga Yoga practice to the extent of reaching Nirvi Samadhi is accessible only to those with strong intention and strong practice. That is kind of obvious. Now, this he has split that Tivra Samveg into three parts. That means Tivra Samveg itself is very strong. Out of that, mild Tivra Samveg, medium Tivra Samveg, and strong Tivra Samveg. I don't think there is any necessity to split like that. Tivra Samveg means suppose you want to say somebody is very good, then you don't have to say little very good, medium very good, and very very good. So anyway, he has done that for some reason. So the reason he's saying is that it depends how far you are away from that samadhi is shown by that quantitatively. So he says now there is Ishwar Pranidhanatva. By doing Ishwar Pranidhan you get it. Now he is defining Ishwar in his sutras that is given in the beginning, which I think is not enough. So now I am giving you my definition. Ishwaraha Sarvajnaha Sarvashaktiman Sarvatra Sarvada Upistita. That means Ishwar is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, and ever present. He is present everywhere and is always present. Now I do not know whether omnipresent includes ever present also. That was also awesome comment. So when you surrender to the Ishwar, why are you surrendering to Ishwar? Because you cannot do it yourself. So Ishwar has to have a capability to surpass all your karma. Na? So if Ishwar is able to surpass your karma and give you that liberation, that means Ishwar has to be the one who can create the whole universe. Na? He knows what to do to be able to do that. So he is he must be omnipotent and he must know everything what your karma is, and then he should be present always. So he knows all the karma you created so far, and he has to be present always, na? Because your karma is going on for whole life, many lives. So that's why he has to have all these qualities. Now, so the Ishwar has to be something great. In Patanjali, he has shown that he is okay, one special Purush, not enough. He has to be something real great. Now, Sasharanakatanugrahi Papinan Nigrahicha. That means he should feel graceful towards those who surrender. Of course, otherwise he will not do it. So that's why he is anugrahi for Sharanagat, means he is graceful to the Sharanagat, and Nigrahi for Papacharani means that those who are papi, those who are not doing good, he should not be uh, graceful. Otherwise, he will give the same benefit to everyone. So, yes, God loves everybody, but God doesn't give goodies to everybody. So people say that God loves everybody. Yes, God loves everybody, but He doesn't give everybody same. So therefore, when you love all the people in your students, doesn't mean that you'll give all people certificate. Only those who completed homework you give certificate. Otherwise, everybody will come to your class and get certificate. That's funny. So now the next one. तीव्र संवेगेन सह विना मानवीय अनुभवानां दुःखापरिहार्यत्वं प्रयत्नापरिहार्यत्वं च जानानः ईश्वरं प्रतिपाद्ये. So even if you have a strong will, you will feel. Why will a person surrender to Ishwar? Because the person who surrenders to Ishwar should feel that his efforts are not sufficient, and he knows that if he wants to get liberation, he has to struggle hard. Like somebody wants to get Nobel Prize, he has to struggle hard. He cannot just do a little bit of homework and get Nobel Prize. So to get Nobel Prize, he has to struggle hard. But suppose he knows that after struggling hard also he won't get Nobel Prize because he doesn't have connection with the committee which gives the prize. So if he surrenders to the committee, then they will give the prize. So you'll find that even in the real good scientists also there is a small competition who will surrender to that committee. So Tivra Samvekana Savina. So he will feel that he cannot remove his sorrow completely, and sorrow is always there, and his efforts are not enough. Only such people will surrender to Ishwar. So anyway, whether you want to go to the Kaivalya by strong effort or you want to surrender to Ishwar, somehow little bit strong effort you have to first make and feel that they are not enough. Now I am going in my own commentary. I want to go beyond that. According to me, strong efforts are not enough. You have to do the strong effort just to know that they are not enough. Ultimately, you will have to surrender only. Because unless you surrender, your ego will not go. See, in my Adhiyog, there is one sutra about it. That your ego, that is, I am something special. That thought, as long as you have that thought, you will maintain your identity. You will not be able to liberate. So you have to surrender to something by which you forget yourself. Yes?
The inadequacy of what efforts?
Efforts to get to that, to remove the sorrow and to get to the Kaivalya. Ishvara Pranidhanam Nama. That is what is happening now when a child, the lady is not getting child or she is not getting job, then she will pray to the God to get child. God is not marrying her, but she is praying to the God. She thinks that the God can give the child without even marrying him. Ishvara Pranidhanam Nama Bahya Pujataha. Now he has given Ishvara Pranidhan as Omkar, only singing Om. But I am saying that Ishvara Pranidhan means when somebody surrender to Ishwar, they will surrender to Ishwar in their own way. There is no particular law who can make that you have to surrender like that. Nobody can make a law that you have to teach yoga class in this way only, and you have to have only R by 200 or whatever AY is 200. There can be any certificate, or you may not have a certificate. You may be able to teach a class. So nobody can make a law like that. So what happens is that Ishwar Pranidhan, that is surrender to Ishwar, can be in any form. So here I am saying here, Ishwara Pranidhanam Nama Bahya Pujataha Manas Puja Karanam. But ultimately that external practice, it will end in the mental, because ultimately you are going into the mind. So it starts with the external and then it goes into mental worship. Then Omkar, yes, Omkar is great. Doesn't mean that only Omkar is great. So mantra, only Omkar is not the one mantra, but Omkar is Vishesh. So it may be a special mantra, but other ones are also there. Then somebody will worship the God with form and then they will go to formless. So one doesn't have to kill another person because he is worshipping with the form. Okay. Then Ishwar Pranidhanam Samadhi Sadhanam Ahankara Parityakan Manasoti Kramana Cha Avashyaka. I am saying that not only is Ishwar Pranidhan method for Samadhi attainment, it is essential as it removes the ego and facilitates the transcension of the mind. Transcension, this word is awesome word. That means I am saying Ishwar Pranidhan is unavoidable in general. Okay, now Ishwar Pranidhanat Kaivalya Prapti sa eva moksha. By doing that, we will get the Kaivalya Prapti. Because in his sutras, he has not said anywhere where that Ishwar Pranidhan will give you Kaivalya Prapti also. Only Samadhi, but Samadhi is not enough. You have to get Kaivalya, na? Because that is the final goal. So I have added this that Ishwar Pranidhanam Pranat Kaivalya Prapti sa eva moksha. Sa eva moksha, this word I added from the Vedanta because very soon I am going to add Vedanta to the Adi Yoga. It's already there in Adi Yoga. Vedanta is incorporated in Adi Yoga, you will find it if you study. So Vedanta philosophy, because Yoga philosophy is not complete. Yoga philosophy stops at the Kaivalya. So after Kaivalya, when you get liberated, what happens now with that Purush? He is not mentioned anywhere. So the Purush is hanging there or where is it now? So this Vedanta answers that question. So very soon I will incorporate more and more Vedanta philosophy, which is completing that. Maybe we should do one Vedanta course when I come back.
And what's moksha?
Moksha means the same as liberation. But moksha is a word from Vedanta. And in Vedanta it tells what happens after that Purush is liberated.
Why wouldn't everyone do this method if it's easier?
Because that they have to feel like that now. They feel they can do it themselves.
With less structure.
Yeah. Everybody thinks they can control the whole country, but they try their best and ultimately they join some party. They have to join a party. Without party, you cannot, like Lincoln, he wanted to do something. So he had to win the election to get to that. He wanted to do certain things, I heard. So he had to go through the whole election process, become the president, then only he was able to do the whatever he wanted. So thus completes Ishwar Pranidhan. Any other question? Wonderful. So now we go to the auxiliary section. Now what I am saying here is, I will read this. This section contains those sutras that in the author's personal opinion are not very important to the understanding of Yoga Sutra's philosophy. Some profound occurrences during yoga practice, such as vibhutis, are stated. Some Buddhistic concepts are disproved. The vibhutis, special abilities from meditation practice, may be useful in some cases during the practice of yoga. However, their presence is not critically important. Also, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali advises discarding them. So, these sutras are, you can read the meaning, and that is the commentary what I want to give in this space. That I think they are not required there. They are auxiliary. So if somebody wants to study them, they can study. And after this, my previous book, which is Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the whole translation is there, sutra by sutra and word by word. So it is very interesting because you can also study each word, and some of the words are yoga words, and it might give you some benefit. At the end, there is a list of Patanjali Yoga Sutras at the end in English language and in the Sanskrit. So if you want to memorize, you can read that list. And oh, okay, I'll give you, and then you can study them. Just remind me.
When you say schools of Kaivalya, that's what you meant when you mentioned
In Vedanta there are schools, and they tell what Kaivalya means. For example, in the Dvaita philosophy, they say that you can never become God yourself. So when you liberate, you go into the world where the God lives, and that you can stay. You get a neighborhood of God. Whereas in the Advaita philosophy, non-dualism, it says that you yourself are the God, and you come to know that you are God. So only due to ignorance you are suffering. As soon as you know that you are God, Tattvamasi, you are that. Thou art that. Alright?
What does it mean to do samyama on something?
Sanyam on something means when you are doing the samadhi, now what you are doing, you are focusing on one object, then becoming continuous, and then totally one object only in your mind. So this whole process is called Sanyam. Trayam ekatra Sanyamaha. So now you choose that object. Once you master focusing on one object, then you get an ability to focus on any object. Then you choose that I want to focus on this glass, I want to focus on this. So he's saying that by doing the Sanyam on different objects, you get different vibhutis. So if you focus on your navel plexus, Navi Chakra Kaya Vyuha Jnanam, that means you will come to know the arrangement of the entire anatomical arrangement. Navi Chakra Kaya Vyuha Jnanam. It is interesting that in Nilakanthasana, when I came up with that Nilakanthasana, I am saying that it should stretch up to navel. So the entire body is stretched inside, So that Nilakanthasana I formed because in Washington DC, one new yoga association was formed. The name of that place is International Yoga Association of Black Yoga Teachers. IYABYT. And they invited me as a guest on the inauguration. So I gave a speech there, and they said they want some yogis to give their photographs for first calendar, annual calendar. So that I created that pose, and my real pose, I have the original photo. Behind that is the old Washington DC, like when it looked like a village. That time Washington DC looked like a village. So that background and me doing this pose.
If the nature of karma and the way it's going to express itself is predetermined, wouldn't that mean all life is predetermined?
No. Yes, what will happen and experiences are predetermined. But you are creating new karma, that's not predetermined. That only human beings have that ability. It is interesting that human beings have the ability to create karma, and also they have ability to not create any karma so that they can liberate. Only human beings can liberate. They can meditate and gain knowledge. Animals also have a small ability to gain knowledge, but humans have a profound ability. Actually, there is too much difference. Like, even if you take a very intelligent ape or some monkey, the difference between the monkey and the human being getting knowledge is so much different. Human being catches very, very small differences, like this glass is slightly old compared to the other glass. That much difference human being can know. So we don't understand that, because suppose we are given all the senses, 5 senses. We think when we don't have a sense, then we know the importance of it. Like when we see something, and then later on, if you are not able to see, then the difference between seeing and non-seeing, is like a tremendous. Somebody who doesn't see at all, then they don't know that difference.
Can one be born as like a plant or a tree to work through karma as well?
To work karma?
Yeah.
Yes, they are working, but they are only working that karma which is gone through that plant. That means whatever the plants can do, that much karma they are exhausting. But that may be their last life, or it may not be. That whole theory of karma is not known to anyone. So in Bhagavad Gita he says, Kim karma, kim karmeti, means who knows that whole karma theory? Nobody knows. even the very evolved beings also do not know the whole karma. Yes. All right, wonderful. So, what we will do is, yeah. If you have any comments on this course, send them as a comments that how the course went, etc. How you liked it, because then I want to now go on teaching this course in this way, this using this book. That will be important for people.
It's like a semester course.
It's like because these comments will be important.
Are you gonna do like a